What's up everybody, my name's Andy and welcome to Kit Guru. So at the start of the year I reviewed Corsair's K95 Platinum XT keyboard and it had all the bells and whistles, even having dedicated macro buttons that could be assigned to work with Elgato's Stream Deck software. And I loved the keyboard and it's actually been my daily driver since that review. But has its reign come to an end? Today, we're checking out the king of the hill, the Corsair K100. We're going to see if it can dethrone its predecessor. The K95 Platinum XT was pricey at £210, so as you can expect, get ready to shake the moths out of your wallet as the K100 comes in at a hefty $229.99. Yes, it is expensive, but this is Corsair's flagship after all, and its target audience is high-end gamers and prosumers as well. So if you're into seriously high-end peripherals, then stick around for this one. And if you enjoy what we do here at Kit Guru, please consider supporting us for free by smashing that subscribe button down below. The K100 RGB is exciting because our review model has Corsair's brand new OPX switches, and these are optical-mechanical along with their Axon hyper-processing technology, and even more. But of course we'll take a look at those later in more detail. So straight up, this full-size keyboard is big, coming in at 470 by 166 by 38 millimeters, and it's pretty hefty too, weighing in at 1.31 kilograms. And I'll say this first because I am impressed by it. The build quality is excellent. Everything feels premium with very minimal flex and high quality components. You can hear that now. Design-wise and aesthetics, the keyboard is almost identical to the K95 Platinum XT, but there are some obvious changes. We still have the 6 G keys on the left-hand side, the same beautifully brushed black anodized aluminium faceplate with raised back edge. But the differences are that the K100 does not have an RGB strip along the top of this raised edge. Instead, it's actually tucked around on the back of the edge of the keyboard, and Corsair call it the 22 zone rear light edge. And whilst we're looking at the back, you can also see we have a USB 2.0 pass-through port on the opposite side compared to the K95 and a non-detachable cable. Now don't worry if you have an iCUE Nexus, which I've also reviewed, make sure you check that out. It is still compatible. Your Nexus does come with an attachment that will fit the K100. The sides of the board are different too, with a cool sci-fi looking gloss plastic panel, and each side also has 11 zone RGB light edges that are of course customizable via the software. I like how this zone steps up to the raised edge at the back too, instead of like stopping short. It's just the little touches that are nice. On the base, we have 4 very large rubber non-slip pads, 2 flip-out feet with pads on too, and a ton of cable routing options, along with 2 small magnet cutouts, and this is to attach the included wrist rest. So diverting over to the wrist rest quickly, I love it. It has memory foam cushioning and it has a sort of leatherette fabric that covers the entire rest rather than just like the middle portion. And this material has a great pattern when you look at it closely, but it's also pulled nice and tight. It gives it a firmer feel compared to the K95's wrist rest. This really does feel premium. It has a small Corsair name badge in the middle, and this kind of bugs me just a little bit. It does look like a small sticker that I just want to peel off, but that's just my opinion. It is stuck there. I much prefer the magnets to attach a keyboard to instead of having physical clips, because it makes removing it and attaching it way easier. Going back to the base of the board, these cable management cutouts aren't for the K100's own cable management though, as the cable is incredibly thick. Instead, it's for the USB pass-through port. If you plug a wired mouse into that port, then you can route it through the keyboard for left or right-handed use. As always, the cable is super thick and braided. It's stiff too and pretty much stays wherever you bend it. It does come kinked, but most of that pulls out. There is still a little bit of kink there, but I think I can live with it. On the other end, we have two USB Type A's for the keyboard and for the pass-through. So Corsair needs this to be plugged into two USB 3.0 ports, and that's likely because the increased power that USB 3.0s can handle in comparison to the USB 2.0s. On the top, there's a noticeably bigger gloss panel with Corsair's ship sales logo in the middle, and this houses the indicator LEDs. The left side indicates macros, mute and Windows lock, and on the right side it indicates num lock, caps lock and scroll lock. Now I'd say this design is way cleaner and way more stylish, but of course that is just my opinion. So the raised back edge also has some changes. The volume scroll wheel towards the right is more textured and is also larger than its older brother. It's still smooth to spin without any tactile feedback, but it works super quickly, and that's what I want when I need to change volume quickly on the fly. The toggle mute button is now flat instead of convex, and the feel of this button is so much better. The K95 mute button is just mushy and spongy when pressed, whereas the K100 has some very obvious tactile feedback when pressed, with a great audible click, and you don't have to press it that hard to actuate it either. The same can be said with the profile and Windows lock. These are the same as the mute key and they feel so much nicer in comparison. Now you've probably noticed this right off the bat, but the K100 has a huge RGB illuminated control wheel between the profile and Windows lock keys, and inside it there's an iCUE logo on the center button. The wheel has a textured metal finish and has excellent tactile steps when turning it. So no, this isn't a mini DJ deck, it's actually an incredibly useful tool. At first I thought it might be a bit of a gimmick just to control the RGB, but it's much more than that, and it could be my favorite thing about the K100. Hardware mode toggles between 4 different functions when pressing the iCUE logo key, and these functions are indicated by different colors. Blue lets you control the brightness of the RGB, so turn the wheel left to decrease or right to increase brightness. Green enables track jogging for compatible applications like Spotify, iTunes or other compatible media players when the application window is at the front. Turning the wheel left rewinds the track and right fast forwards it until you stop turning. White skips between previous track and the next one, and finally red function is actually to record macros on the fly. So hold down the iCUE button when it's on the red setting and wait until it begins blinking. Press one of the G keys that you want to program and then press the key combination that you want to record. Press the G key again to save that macro. It's super easy, I love it. The wheel is incredibly straightforward to use. I just absolutely love the track jogging and skipping. It quite possibly has the easiest on-the-fly macro recording and it works flawlessly. It doesn't feel clunky or cheap at all, and after using it, I want this feature on all of my keyboards. We'll take another look at the wheel later when we talk about software, because there is still more to it. You can also change onboard lighting effects using the function key and the 1 to 0 keys to cycle through effects. Using the function key and the plus or minus keys, plus the 4 keys underneath it, lets you change the effect speed, rotate the effects on supported modes as well. This is not displayed on the keycaps themselves, so you have to know this by reading the manual or from me telling you. So I think this was a wise move though, not having the sort of cluttered keycaps, keeping that aesthetic clean, but it could be easily missed by some people. It's kind of a pros and cons thing. I prefer it looking clean, but some people may miss this feature. Talking of the keycaps, I'm pleased to tell you that it does indeed have 1.5mm thick PBT double shot caps on most of the keys, so they look and feel excellent with slightly textured feel to them. I always prefer PBT when possible since they last much longer and they just look better over time as well. So RGB lovers can rejoice as the RGB looks excellent through them too. And I say most of the keys are PBT because the 6 G keys are actually 2-piece ABS. But honestly, I'm fine with this. These 6 keys being ABS is not a big deal for me because I'm not going to be pressing them as often as everything else. The K100 does come with FPS and MOBA keycap sets along with a keycap puller. Now these extra sets are also 2-piece ABS, not PBT, but again, that's not really a big deal in my opinion. Let me know in the comments if it's a problem for you. What about the switches? Well, instead of the usual cherry switches, we opted to check out the K100 with Corsair's brand new exclusive OPX linear switches. Now, these are optical mechanical switches, so they use a beam of infrared light to detect keystrokes. They also have zero debounce, and boy, am I impressed. I thought the Cherry MX Speed Silvers in my K95 Platinum XT were fast. I couldn't see how they could, get it faster, but Corsair have done just that. They've truly outdone themselves. So for a spec comparison, the Cherry MX Speed Silvers have an impressive actuation distance of 1.2 millimeters, total travel distance of 3.4 millimeters, 45 grams actuation force, and 100 million keystroke lifespan, which is excellent. However, Corsair's OPX switches managed to knock the Silvers to the sidelines with an actuation distance of just 1.0 millimeters, a total travel of 3.2 millimeters, the same 45G actuation force, which I'm a fan of, I'm glad they kept that, and get this, 150 million keystroke lifespan. That is impressive. Come on, you've got to be impressed by that, right? I am. So want to know what's even better? They sound amazing. Let's check out a sound test from the K100 and I'll compare it to the K95 too. So just check that out. So as you can hear, the K95 is noisy. It's got the classic clackety clack of a mechanical keyboard with the spacebar and enter key resonating after being pressed. The K100 on the other hand definitely sounds dampened in comparison. It's much more muted with more of a lower pitched thud rather than high pitched prolonged sound. It's subtle, but even the main keys don't resonate as much either. Corsair must have some sort of foam or cushioning underneath the switches to minimize noise. Now I have tried to have a look, but I can't see exactly what they've done, whether they used a washer or some foam, but whatever they've done, it's working. I much prefer the sound of the K100 when it comes to the key noise. It's far less distracting and just more pleasant in general. So I've been using the K95 for months now, and switching over to the K100 with the OPX switches definitely has a noticeable improvement in performance when gaming. It feels faster and so much more accurate, but that's not just because of the new switches alone. So the K100 has Corsair's Axon hyperprocessing technology running on an SoC. So what exactly is an SoC? It's a system on a chip. So this apparently delivers 4 times the throughput of current generation keyboard technology. So what does that mean for us users? Well, the aim of Axon is to give gamers the absolute fastest and most responsive performance possible, and it does this by having an insane polling rate. My K95 Platinum XT had 1000 Hz polling rate, and that's great, right? Well, check this, the K100 being 4 times faster, you guessed it, has a whopping 4000 Hz polling rate. Combined with the OPX switches, N-key rollover, and 100% anti-ghosting, I feel like I've got an unfair advantage over my opponents. Everything just happens instantly, and I feel even more immersed into my gameplay than I ever have before. And playing Call of Duty was incredibly fun, knowing my every move was 100% going to be input as I wanted it, and also showed me my failures were my own rather than letting me blame hardware anymore. So there's a noticeable difference compared to the 1000 Hz mode. It's fairly subtle, but I can definitely feel it. You're going to have to experience it for yourselves. So it comes set at 1000 Hz for compatibility with older PCs, which is good, but you can change it to 4000 via the iCUE software. So let's check it out. So make sure you've got the latest version downloaded, installed, and updated. Select the K100 on the device list by double clicking. On the left side, you can see the profiles, and you can make new ones too if you like. Hardware actions lets you reprogram keys and assign macros as well. Even though you can do that on the fly, you can do it here too. Hardware lighting lets you program all the LEDs, including the light edge on the back and on each side, so don't forget that. The control wheel tab lets us enable even more functionality via software switching. They are disabled by default, but you can assign the wheel to switch between applications, as if you're pressing the tab key, vertical scrolling, horizontal scrolling, and zooming too. Now you can also set the color of each mode so you know exactly what you want it to be, and I absolutely love the scroll wheel and the amount of functionality it has. With iCUE enabled, it's incredibly useful. The performance tab lets you disable keys when Windows Lock is enabled, and finally onboard profiles. There's an insane 200 profiles that can be saved on the K100's onboard 8MB storage. Now I don't exactly know why you'd want this many, because I just usually stick to a few, but if you want 200, well, you can. So finally, if we go to settings, we can enable the 4000 Hz 0.25 millisecond polling rate. Impressive stuff. Now we can still use the G keys with Elgato's Stream Deck 2, so to do this, install Stream Deck software from Elgato's website and make sure iCUE is running at the same time. Select Corsair G keys from the top drop-down menu and then simply drag and drop anything from the sections on the right to the key of your choice. Now this is super handy even for those that don't stream at all, because I like to use these to open programs or websites or whatever you want really. It's actually really handy. So I'm glad to see this is still here too, and it begs the question, what can't the K100 do? So overall, the K100 has blown me away in every area. The build quality is excellent with minimal flex and top quality materials. The aesthetics is clean and luxurious. The wrist rest is very comfortable. The function keys and volume wheel work excellently. The control wheel and the software integration are just superb. The new Axon and OPX switches are best in class with dampened noise levels. Basically, I have nothing bad to say about the K100. Okay, yes, it is expensive, but this is Corsair's Lamborghini. They're appealing to those willing to shell out some cash for the best possible product, and for that, it checks all the marks in my opinion. And I'm gonna say it, I think this is the best keyboard of 2020. So what do you guys think? Let us know down in the comments below. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up, subscribe, ring the bell, check out our merchandise down below, check us out on Twitter, and remember to read our website daily for tech news. I'm Andy, this is Kit Guru. I'll see you in the next one. See you later.